put a like a conference call line for people to dial in.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with that is that if I do Facebook Live,
you won't be able to take the calls, or it'll cut. Yeah, I know. Cause see, like we were trying to set it up to where like they had a piece up here at one time that you could plug your phone up to, but when you plugged it up, it kind of gave feedback or something.
Yeah.
So it was just like I was like, all right, I need to figure out some way of being able to do this.
yeah.
So that's been one of my projects. Shaka was supposed to hit me up this week.
He would know.
Yeah, if anybody would know who Shaka is.
I did a project with him. I never finished it. We did like 3 or 4 sessions. But yeah,
He
smart guy.
he really is. As like I said, me and Shaka, we agree to disagree. You know, that's how our friendship is. And it's like I tell people all the time, I be like, Shaka doesn't like white people, but he loves me. I don't get it. Like,
Yeah,
So he'll be quick to say, not you, Lisa. Like I know. A new radio show just started today.
What's that?
GGI Radio. They were on Hard Body before,
Mm-hmm.
and they stopped or whatever, and then they started up again.
For some reason, I thought it was street legal. I was like, why was street legal? And when you mentioned the lower level, but Mark is my guy.
I love Mark too. Like I was supposed to be doing a show on there like a couple years, about a year or so ago too.
Yes.
And I talked to Lil about it, and he was like, just come talk to me. And I was like, all right. But then Hardbody was the first one to offer me a show like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right. So this was kind of like, yeah, I'm gonna go with this, because like Mark let me use the photo studio.
Yeah.
Mark tells I can come up there and come to the studio anytime I want to.
Yeah.
Because they just love me up there, and I was like,
Good.
So I was waiting for him to move into the new building.
Yeah.
So.
I had it down there until I'm lost.
Yeah, I had gotten to the point where I was like, okay, well, I can just get another phone that's not activated, because all I need is the Wi-Fi.
Just do a prepaid and use that.
Yeah. So I was like, I could, try to figure out any kind of way of being able to have, because a lot of people they can't tune in or they won't tune in, because like there's an app and the website and people can tune in a couple different ways, and like YouTube.
Yeah.
They can go to my YouTube page. I tell people all the time, you can go to my YouTube page and watch it stream live.
Is it in the spotlight or is it
What, my YouTube?
Yeah.
My YouTube is Baltimore Paparazzi.
Okay.
It's my Baltimore Paparazzi page. That's where all of them go to.
Okay. So I could say interview is streaming live on YouTube.
Yeah, Baltimore Paparazzi.
Okay.
If he hits me one more damn time. Look, I'm not talking to you right now because I'm getting ready to stream. Oh, right, there we go. It's on. But, yeah, so. Did not realize I had all these songs. Oh yeah, and the studio was back there.
Spell it right. P-A-P-A-R-A-2-Z.
I.
Boom. Okay.
You would not believe how many people I get hit up on my page
Yeah.
talking about how do I throw a show at your club?
And you know.
I said I have nothing to do with that club. I was the Baltimore Paparazzi before that place was named Paparazzi. That's Sonar.
Yeah, that's Sonar. I mean, I don't know what paparazzi is. You paparazzi. I know. Alright. Okay. Yeah, I've been doing a lot of sparring, so I'm bruised and beat up. But I'm here.
One of the.
Where I need to be.
Oh.
So this is okay.
Yeah. So I don't know which one you want to be at.
Okay. So this is on?
It should. Tapping.
Oh, you got headphones, so
No, I got no headphones.
Okay.
I don't know which one's which.
This is
That one's on.
this is on. I can hear it.
Yeah, there's a lot of feedback too.
Hold on.
Is it?
Test.
Hello?
Test. A, B, C, E, F, G. I forgot the D.
See, 3D better come up here and help me because see, we got a lot of feedback again.
Put one on mute.
Two's on mute.
Okay.
Okay.
So they're both off. One is on. I think it's this one. I don't hear the feedback.
Yeah, turn. The feedback is on this one, whichever one that is.
Okay.
No, I don't know which. I don't know which one. I hate this thing. This is what I can't stand this.
You want me to grab him?
Huh?
You want me to grab him? To,
Okay, I got on mine. You're on yours?
Me.
Welcome to In the Spotlight. As always, you know we have technical difficulties every single week. Just because it's me. It's your girl Lisa,
Hey.
Baltimore Paparazzi. And this week, we have a little something different. Well, you know my show's always different. But this week I have my man Shadid,
Hey.
who is going to give us some information.
Yes.
He's going to have a conversation with me. He's going to give some information for anybody and everybody, not just artists. It's anybody who has their business, want to have their own business. I've witnessed his one of his workshops that he did about branding, which some of y'all don't know anything about. But he's going to, we're going to sit here, we're going to have a conversation, we're going to talk about some things, and hopefully some of y'all can get some good information and you can ride with it. So, Shadi, go ahead and tell people, I guess, like, I want to say like your credentials or, you know, what you specialize in besides the martial arts, because, yeah, he does the martial arts too. So, just tell everybody kind of like, you know, what your specialties and credentials and resume is.
Okay, first of all, thank you to Baltimore Paparazzi Lisa for bringing me on the air, and it's an honor, it's a privilege, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for those of you who maybe got the link from Facebook or from Twitter, other social media outlets. This went out to a bunch of places. You can go to youtube.com/Baltimore Paparazzi, and paparazzi has 2 Z's in it. Paparazzi, Z-Z-I. So before we get into, I'm Shadid Eleazer. Mr. Shadid is what a lot of people may refer to me as. There's a whole story behind that because when I was younger, I was trying to, you know, stake my claim in the world. And when people would, online, they would have a certain respect or reverence for what I would do. But when they would meet me, they would say, you're only in your 20s, or you're only this, you're only that. And you're trying to put together different deals. And the respect wasn't always the same.
Yeah.
So the Mr. part of it was kind of my declaration to respect my name. You know, put, you know.
So you was telling people put some respect that you made before Birdman was.
Years ago, about a decade and a half before Birdman had the idea. So, you know, I was with a guy who did everything young and early and got involved in the game. Quite early in life. I was born into an entrepreneurial family, so I always had that seed of empowerment and do for self planted in me. My earliest examples were family members who started this up or started that up, and we all work within family. So as far as official credentials and things like that, I'm a business and technology advisor. On the corporate side, I've put together and architected, you know, put together the mastermind, this picture, a big blueprint on the wall. If you're listening out there in Radio Land, the official websites of Maryland, where we're currently broadcasting from now, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and also the state of Wisconsin. So I may put on the suit and go in and give all this great advice. But like all of us, you know, I had, and I'll just go down the line. Now, so I said business and technology. So obviously websites is technology. On the business end, I'm a mentor for SCORE Baltimore. So SCORE is the Small Business Administration's consulting arm. So there's a whole lot of people who come into the SBA to start businesses, so on and so forth, and they can't meet one-on-one with everybody. So they partner with SCORE so that you can have a face to meet with, and I'm one of those faces, and SCORE is investing heavily into me in terms of diversity, because a lot of African American, Latino, so on and so forth, individuals are starting to start businesses up, and sometimes having that someone who looks like them or who has been through similar struggles is something that helps them get over that hump, or speaks a common language, not necessarily a hip-hop dialect, but is more relatable. And that's something that they told me. I didn't come to them and say, well, you should do this. They were like, I'm 75 years old, someone who's 25 years old and is trying to start a magazine, for example, or needs to understand Instagram, for example. I can't relate to that, so we need you. We need you to come forth and do what's necessary. So on the entertainment end, like everyone, we have what we do during the day, and then we have these evening escapades and adventures and side hustles and projects. So of course I started out as an artist like everyone, and I signed the worst independent record label contract in the history of life.
Oh my goodness.
For real. But I moved on. One of the things I figured out in my mid-20s, I didn't want to be, at the time before, Jay-Z and Nas and all these artists kept going with longevity, it was seen as a bad thing to be the old rapper. That's for the YouTube, I'm putting the air quotes, the old rapper. So I said, what is something that I can do that I can grow old doing? I love music, I love entertainment, so on and so forth. What can I do to grow old with this? So I started stepping more behind the scenes, and I've been involved with publishing. I'm the co-author along with Zills, who is a guy who is the web designer for some of the top blogs throughout the entire game. We wrote the Artist Quick Start Guide to Building a Brand Online. I feel like that is a severely underrated work. It took us a while to put together all this information that's available on Amazon right now today. And the basics of building your brand. And that was when I wrote that when I met one of my heroes, who was Wendy Day. Who is an advocate for independent artists and empowerment, so on and so forth. I've been
compared to Wendy Day.
See? It's greatness in the room. That's a great comparison. And I previously was a radio personality for Sirius XM. I delivered the Digital Entertainment Report, which was the entertainment's take on pop culture. So if a new iPhone came out and Paris Hilton did this, or someone sent out a tweet and it did this, I covered it from a purely impact standpoint. This is what it is, this is what it does. And several different college radio stations around the country with Sirius XM. I was with Mario. It was Mario Armstrong's show. I had a segment on that. So shout out to Mario. He's on the Today Show now, doing just did a deal with Al Roker. So and also to this day, television. I have currently today. A lot of you guys don't even know this, but I'm part of a production team that has a music video rock show, all rock, everything from blues to heavy metal, called R&R TV. We have produced today is 517 episodes. So, wow. And it's in several markets throughout the U.S. It's a 1-hour music video broadcast where MTV used to be. And I used to have a hip-hop TV show, which was a spin-off from R&R TV called Indie Planet TV. The website is still around, but and it's a nice little community, but I think I'm going to turn that one over to the new generation, get some new VJs and stuff like that. So if you're listening and you're interested, we can talk. So that's who I am. That's what I do and have done.
That is a lot.
Yeah, I normally just say, hey, I'm just a guy. And if you come into, depending on how you know me, you may know me one way but not know the 52 other things. Like I said, we all have our daytime pursuits and our nighttime passions, and those are a few of mine.
Yeah, because to be honest, like since I've been in this scene, I've met people,
Sure.
and sometimes I sit back and I go, how did I meet this person? Like it's like I don't even remember like how I exactly met you. It was just like you were there, and we were friends, and every time we see each other, it was like, hey, how you doing? And I was like, hey, how you doing?
Yes.
And, it's just it's like. I don't remember, like, of course I remember the first day I met Shaka Fitz. I remember that exact moment, but like certain, like, I've met so many wonderful, wonderful, important people in this scene.
Sure.
And it's just like, I don't remember like Mark Carey, like the first time we met Mark Carey. Mark Carey's just always been in my world.
Yes.
So like, I don't remember the very first time, it must have been, it must have been like 5 seasons or something.
Accurate.
5 seasons is like where I met like everyone, because
Yes.
that was home.
Yes, that's the headquarters. That's where, for those of you who are just came about, let's say in the paparazzi era, not you, the Baltimore paparazzi, but when Sonar was renamed to paparazzi. If you just came of age in that particular time, then you may not understand the context of that, where the 5 seasons for so many years was a place where all the events were held, the legendary events. Just about every Baltimore Crown Awards was held, except for like the
last year.
Exactly. So
And this year.
Style Wars and the different poetry events and Warm Wednesdays. It's just
I had my birthday parties there.
Yes.
Like that like. I feel for people who have not been able to, like, and like I said, my show is always so different because I'm trying to educate people on a lot of the newer generation that's coming up in the music scene, because I'm so heavily in the music scene, is they don't understand how hard it was to get shows, to get these club owners to let us have shows at certain places. I was lucky enough to come in right in the beginning. Like I came in right when Mr. Wilson had gotten sick, and I went to his funeral. He was the pioneer. Like a lot of people don't have no idea about Mr. Wilson and Low Key and Sonny Brown and how much they even Charm City C trying to get this hip hop scene going and vibrating. And then because I keep saying this every show, I came in and we had Turntable Club. We had, of course, 5 seasons. Fletcher, Sonar, Bedrock, Bourbon Street came along. We had all these clubs that, Penguins out in Arbutus, Black Hole Club out in Dundalk. There was so many different places where we could have so many different events, and so there was always something going on, like every single weekend. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, there was something always going on.
Exactly.
And then like it kind of died down because clubs were closing up because of either the city was closing them down because of whatever reason. I called it back in MySpace days. I said, y'all don't understand. I said the city is going to end up closing these spots down if we don't do something, if we don't stand up and fight for this. And then the next thing you know, they're closing all these clubs down. Black Coal got closed because Chris, the owner, was stupid. He was growing marijuana. He was letting the rave kids. The rave kids it wasn't even the hip hop scene. It was the rave kids that was selling drugs and doing drugs and everything. That's why I was glad when they raided that place. It wasn't a hip hop show.
Exactly.
So a lot of people don't understand, like, we had all these venues. So now it's back to trying to do shows in places like, like we do shows at Club Depot, which is a nice it's a nice place. It's just small. Doesn't have a stage. It's not built for a hip hop event. But we have shows there because we can. having shows at, where else they having shows at? I'm so out of the loop, like, because I've been out of it. The wind-up space. The wind-up space is an awesome place. I love that. It reminds me of a mixture of like Five Seasons and Sonar. It's got that earthy feel like Sonar has, or it had, and then it's got that whole home vibe that Five Seasons had.
Exactly.
You know, like the Impact Hub, which is where the Baltimore Crown is going to be, is right up the street from there. It's like the next block over. And I was in there for a poetry event with Chenier, and that's a nice place. But like a lot of people don't understand that, you know, we had all these places. Now we're back to trying to build them up. And when I came in the scene, a lot of people had no idea about branding.
Of course.
They had no idea about getting their BMI or ASCAP or publishing, the copyright. They knew nothing about that. They just wanted to rap. And they were going to get a music deal.
Yes. And
that was going to be it.
Just fall out the sky.
You know, they were going to be the next Soulja Boy get found on MySpace. And I kept telling everybody, you have to, you know, you have to do this, you have to do this. And the only reason why I knew anything was because I graduated with a certificate in business and clerical for marketing and advertising. That was what we studied. And, you know, it was all about, and I kept telling people, I said, you're a commodity.
Yes.
So you have to get out there, you have to advertise yourself, you have to, you know, do this. And even back then I was telling people, you need to get business cards, you need to get this. And everybody just kind of looked at me like, what are you talking about? So then, now here we are in 2016, and we're still having this conversation about branding. You know.
Yes. Let me touch on a previous point. Where we are right now in terms of venues in let's say the greater Baltimore area, county, city included, is our most influential promoters and events are having to reshuffle and figure things out on the fly. You know, finding venues like the wind-up space and hosting Deafness 4, for example, last year. That was a big shift. And, you know, the Baltimore Crown Awards moving to a new location downtown. These are all transitions that have to be made. And for you who may be, let's say you may feel like you don't have a major stake in the scene, you may be just a fan, quote unquote, or just a rapper. There's various ways that you can support besides just attending the event. Of course, face-to-face interaction is number one, but in terms of support on social media, you can share a post. You can also, in conversation, speak up the event. You know, even if you have certain differences with the promoter or somebody didn't put you on the bill for a particular showcase or performance, speak highly, because their success in hosting the more established personalities within our scene equals your success and your longevity, because the more stages that you can perform in front of, the more venues that you can go and take pictures or take videos and do interviews, so on and so forth. That equals more opportunities for you to expand beyond this market. And you have to have that big picture in mind. You know, in terms of other cities, you can't talk bad about someone who is established or paid their dues in certain cases. And not to say that we don't have that particular mentality, but that has to be the standard code of conduct. And like I said, there's numerous ways to support, and at this time and for the next couple of years, that's going to be very important, because one event where there's a fight or something happened, it affects all events. Where, you know, certain rave events, that's not the same stigma. So you definitely have to keep that in mind. It's bigger than just your opinion. It's bigger than just what you think. You have to think of the bigger picture in terms of opportunities and what we're trying to do collectively.
And that's a very good point, because I mean, this thing about the support is always, every single day, I see it online. You know, well, nobody supports, blah 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 blah. And I mean, I have seen people who, like me. I'm the Butterball Paparazzi. I'm Lisa.
Mm-hmm.
I am, you know, my show is at Hot Body Radio, but I'm cool with Mark, so I can go street legal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I am I'm everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm with everybody. I'm a supporter.
Money is good everywhere.
I'm a supporter of every single person. So when, you know, I had somebody who is a friend of mine and who also has a studio, you know, he was upset because I shared the studio's information on, you know, if you put up a flyer,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to share it.
Yeah.
Because even if it has nothing to do with me, I don't record. So
Mm-hmm.
if somebody puts up a flyer about, oh, I'm doing this, like Spielberg.
Yes.
Spielberg, I share Spielberg stuff. He's a videographer. I
Mm-hmm.
share, and a producer, and he has, you know, studio, all that. Every time he puts something up, I share it.
Mm-hmm.
J5, he used to actually do photos and video.
Be more HH.
Yeah, he's still, to this day, he's still like my favorite photographer.
Mm-hmm. It's good.
And
Did my photo shoot.
see? And I would share his stuff. Ruben Green is another photographer, Dub Science Photography, one of my favorite photographers. I share his stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be people would come and ask me, well, Lisa, do you do weddings? I'm not comfortable doing weddings.
Mm-hmm.
That's something, that is a moment that has to be perfect to
Mm-hmm.
me, you know, with as far as photography. And I would send them to my friend John Hudson, who is a photographer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's what I do. Like I've always said, I direct traffic.
Mm-hmm.
You
Connected. A connector.
Yeah, you know, somebody, at least, do you know a producer? Here's a producer. He's not going to work for free.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I don't know if he's going to give you a deal or not, but just tell him that I sent you. You know, and I direct traffic. So I share a lot of things. I
Mm-hmm.
share a lot of events. I might not be going to the event, but I'll still share it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of artists that I've noticed, they don't do that.
Let's talk about this. This might ruffle a few feathers.
Oh,
here.
I ruffle feathers all the time, so it don't really matter.
Let me
know.
go in on this topic really quick. Let me stretch for this. Ugh. Okay, to my artists, I'm talking to you artists. Listen, there's a big difference between support, which Lisa just clearly laid out and defined, and disguised undercover panhandling. Let's talk about it.
Whew. Yes, y'all pay attention, please.
You artists, now it is perfectly fine. Hand-to-hand sales of CDs, T-shirts, merch, etc. is a very viable form of commerce or exchange of goods and services for cash. But a lot of you guys, you put pressure on the buyer as if they have to support your music. They're not obligated to support your music. I'm not obligated to, if I see you in passing, your mixtape may be great, but I'm not obligated to buy it. What you have to do is create the energy, create the conversation so that when I see you, I say, hey, that artist, I ask you what you're working on or what you have going on, and I want to support you. You want to create an atmosphere where artists want to support you. You don't want to be like, you know, 3-card Monty where the person who bought it feels tricked. Like, you got me, you know, or he pressured me. If I didn't buy this, what would have happened? And that's the energy that happens in a lot of cases when you're trying to push your music onto people. No one is obligated to support you. So the question is, how do I do this? And the answer to that is to just build is consistency and build up. I don't like to use the word brand because when I say brand, some people think this and they think that and they think this. Build up consistency behind your message, behind your audience, behind your tribe, your everything that you're building, so that when people see you in person, it's like, oh, that's him. And based on everybody that the energy you command when you step into the venue, people want to buy your music. People want to go to your website, and that's the way it works.
See, and when you're saying that, one person comes to mind, and that's Big Steve. because I've had Steve on here twice. I've known Steve since, like I said, the first day that he stepped on stage. I didn't realize that was the first time he'd been on stage. And he's another one, like, just one day Steve was there. And he's family to me now. Like, he's like one of my children. And he has this grind. He has this, you know, he actually, he wears his own, you know, his own label, which is BR Clothing, Bodymore Records Clothing. And one day, he told the story, he said one day he was somewhere and somebody seen his shirt, was like, oh, do you know Big Steve? And Steve was like, yeah.
I heard him.
I'm him.
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly.
so that's another, like, another thing, like, with a lot of these artists, like, I ran into a lot of, everybody knows me, you know, everybody knows me. And I'm like, no, I don't. And then, like, there's people that you keep hearing their name in conversations, and you keep seeing their names on flyers, and that makes you want to go, okay, well, this person, everybody keeps talking about this person, I need to go and check them out. You know, and I think that it's starting to come back, because I'm running into they're newer faces to me. And I've heard their names.
Yes.
And I'm like, I heard your name before. There was this one boy, it was at the Love and Hip Hop open mic that happens down at St. Mary's. And he said something about his name was mentioned. I was like, hold up, wait a minute, where have I heard his name before? My neighbor across the street was telling me about him. So, you know, and that just the word of mouth thing, you know, and I think that people need to do that more. They need to do that as far as the support, like you said. And the panhandling, I can't tell you how many times
undercover panhandling.
I can't tell you how many
hashtag.
I can't tell you how many times, like, people like, you know, my CD, it's only $5, and I'm like, I understand that, but I don't know you, and I appreciate, like, let me hear some of your music, and, you know, if you get up on stage and I hear something and I like it, then, you know, I'd be more inclined to, you know, and, like,
trying to play it for you right there on the spot, like, I got my headphones right here.
This is fire. I'm like, yes, and everybody says that there's this fire. I understand that, but I like to hear you know, I like to hear the music, and, you know, and I'm one for support. This is what I tell everybody. I support the scene as a whole. I do have my favorites, but I support the scene as a whole. I want the scene to be bigger. I want the scene to be better. I want, you know, I want people to get more notification, you know, notoriety. I mean, Damon Blue, Tate Cobain, they're getting their names out there. They're getting, you know, they're doing this. Stars was just on tour with Tech Nine. Tech Nine is like one of my favorite artists.
Very successful.
Successful. He's an independent artist. Like he and Travis built Strange Music up to what it is today. Forbes list, you know. He's been on the Forbes list like 4 years in a row. It's probably about 5 now.
He's doing very well.
But, you know, and I seen, what was it? Somebody had made a comment. Was it about Stars? About him leaving the city and this, that, and I don't know if it was Stars. It was somebody about them leaving the city and all this, that. Who was it? Him? It was somebody. It was one of the other little guys. Tate Cobain, I think it was him. But what I've always told these artists was, you don't need the whole city behind you. You get your little fan base, and then you go and you do shows in other places. You make connections. You make connections. You know, you find out where the open mics are in Pennsylvania and New York and New Jersey and Delaware, Virginia. You know, you go to these different the states that you can just drive to right now, and you keep building that up. And before you know it, people are going to want you to come on there and be on their show. They may even pay you to be on their show. You never know, because you're coming from out of town.
Yes.
You know, I think some of these people think that it's going to be an overnight success. Some of them, I don't think a lot of them put forth the effort, and they get into this thinking that it's going to be a cakewalk.
Now let me give some from an example that was just mentioned, a concrete example, because people are listening to this, and no matter where they are in their situation with music, everyone listening wants to succeed on their own terms.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone is either going to some job or putting all their eggs into this music or entertainment basket for it to pay off. They may have seen somebody that inspired them, whether it's somebody that are very mainstream or somebody who was local and, you know, blew up and went somewhere else. So let's use Big Steve's example. What I like about what he does is that there's consistency from whether you see him online and whether you meet him in person. And like I said, when your word of mouth is one thing that's going to happen if you are consistent. But when you control the conversation about what is said about you, then that word of mouth becomes more powerful. So if there's 5 people in the room and they're all saying the same thing, by the time it gets to the 6th person, it's going to be stronger because 5 people are saying the same thing. So with Big Steve, he is his brand. He lives his music. Meaning, when you see him, he's invested in the look in terms of the t-shirts, so on and so forth. He's invested in his music. He's invested into social media platforms like Facebook Live. When he was on your radio show, he went and broadcasted on Facebook Live. I tuned in. I watched it for a while. Yeah. And that helped for me to get a better understanding about his music outside of the music that he has, which he has a catalog, but the person behind it, what you have to understand as a musician that is making music for an audience is that you can't be as small-minded as to say, I know exactly why they like me. You don't know why they like you. There's a lot of artists that I just like as people. So it doesn't matter what they put out. Right. I just like their personality. I like their approach to things. So I want to see them succeed, and I may support them for that reason. Or they may have a business mind, and I like how they go about it. Or their situations and circumstances is so real that what they're trying to escape from and funnel that through music is like, man, I'm rooting for this person to win. So you never know. So So I'll be honest, I don't know every single Big Steve song, and that's fine. But the personality part of it, to convert someone like me into a lifelong fan, all I have to do is hear that one song that relates to my situation, or my struggles, or what I'm trying to overcome, and I'm hooked. So it's the KLT factor. What's the KLT factor? Know, like, trust.
Awesome.
Know plus like equals trust. So if I know you from your Facebook Live video, let me tell you the secret about Facebook Live. Let me tell you the secret is that the longer you get somebody to keep watching, the like part starts to come into it. The familiarity part starts to come into it. If if we take this room for example, I'm looking around seeing the records, I may not even be listening 100% to what's being said, but I may connect with that Diana Ross and the Supremes greatest hits because my mom used to listen to it. Right. And that gives me a memory here or this, and I can relate on different levels. So when I see that individual person, that may be the conversation. Like, oh, you like records, I collect records too. And that's where the trust starts to come in. And so when you have that established, then you can say, oh, I have new music. And because that relationship is already there, the chance of the sale or that connection, and most importantly, for that fan to say to their friends, oh, I got the new Big Steve, or I got this person, I got that person, and they share it, or they defend you in the barbershop arguments about new artists, or man, all music is the same. No. Yeah. This Body More Records. Hey, And that's what you guys have to keep in mind. So, if you don't listen to anything else that I say tonight, KLT, know plus like equals trust. And you have to invest in platforms that keeps the conversation going on. You do, let's say, a Periscope broadcast or YouTube video where it's direct interaction. Ask questions to the audience, what city are you from? What's your favorite song? And get them to start responding, because it keeps them on longer and longer and longer and longer. And the longer they stay on, the longer they connect. It's human nature.
It really is.
Human nature.
And also, like with Steve, like I said, like I tell him all the time, I like his grind is just, it just amazes me. He started his own little tour. Like he did it himself.
Mm-hmm.
He made connections with certain people. He went to down to New Orleans, and that's like his second home now. Like they love him down there.
Good.
And he went to Puerto Rico. He just posted up he's going back to Puerto Rico. He did a show in Puerto Rico. He's doing another show. He went out to Cali. He went down to South by South by
Southwest.
Yeah, he went down there this year. A lot of people went down there this year.
Sure.
A lot more than previous years.
Yes.
And and that's, to me, like I said, for me, being like I say I'm on the outside looking in, because I'm not an artist. So, and I've made a lot of connections with a lot of different people.
Mm-hmm.
And none of my connections are calculated, is what I'm gonna say. It's not like I purposely go out to become cool with this person over here.
It never works.
But that's what I see a lot. Like I see a lot of it happening. It's a lot of phoniness and everything.
Of course.
And and it just amazes me, because I can't be phony. So when I see people being phony, that kind of makes me. There's been a lot of artists that I liked, that I liked their music, but then I got to know them personally.
Yes.
And I didn't like them anymore. I'm not going to take nothing away from them talent-wise.
Never meet your heroes.
Right. So, like I've gotten to know a lot of artists on a personal level, because I am a lot older than a lot of people. So I became Mama Lisa. Everybody comes
Mama
to me.
Lisa.
That's what I get called all the time, Mama Lisa. Or like the guys will call me Miss Lisa. I said, if you don't stop calling me Miss Lisa, stop.
Yeah, the Mr. Shadi thing was cool when I was younger.
Yeah,
now
but now
it's
wait a minute,
hey.
yeah. Miss Lisa, I'm like, do you please just call me
Young
Lisa?
Shadi, that's a little stage name. Young.
So like I watch the and that's like I've had a conversation with Steve about this, and I've had a conversation with a lot of different people. When like Steve offers people, like he went down to Atlanta about a month or so ago, and he put on Facebook, anybody want to go with us? You just have some money so you can just come on, let's go. Nobody takes him up on the offer. You know what I mean? So, and I just sit back and I'm like, Steve, give me enough notice, because I want to go too. Like I want to start going different places. Like I used to go to New York every month with Bomb and Money in the Bank when I first got in the scene. We were going to New York every month. We got on the mega bus and went. It was fun for me to be able to go and see different. I met Jam Master Jay's nephew, and I'm still friends with him on Facebook and on Instagram. He lives out in California now, and like I got to meet him because he had his own rap group, and he was performing at Sputnik where we were performing at, and I got to meet him. So it's amazing how you make these connections, and I make connections. And I don't burn bridges. People if there's a bridge burnt with me, it's because somebody else threw a match on it.
Let's talk about relationships as far as
yes.
the networking protocol, because there's no manual on this. There's no websites you can go to really to understand how to deal with people in this industry or entertainment, and especially locally. I would say that local relationships are more important than the big time industry relationships, and I'll give you a few reasons why. number one, when you're on your way up, is one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Your local relationships help you go up, but when you're on your way down, it's the difference between crashing on the pavement and being held up by a group of supporters. So your local relationships are everything. The first thing I want to make sure I hammer home is, if you say you're going to do something, follow through and do it. If you don't make decisions based on what you don't feel is right, or trying to make decisions to make other people happy, that also ties into overcommitting to something. If you know you can't be in New York tomorrow, and you know you have other things going on, it is better to be upfront and honest about that than to say, I got you, I'll be there, and not show up. The other thing, especially for my artists, be on time. If you be on time and you're punctual, you actually will be different from other artists. You will stand out just by being on time. Here's the all-time secret. This is from the business world. It's something I figured out. If you're going to be late and you look, okay, if you have to be at a studio session by 8 o'clock, and you know the way your day is going that you're going to be late, the earlier that you notify the right person, and I say the right person, not just any person, but the person who either will be the most upset, has the most invested, if you notify those individuals as early as possible, it actually makes you look more responsible.
Right.
So at 2 o'clock, if you say, you know what, I can't make it to the studio at 8 o'clock, I'm going to be there around 9 o'clock, it actually makes them feel like, oh, he respects my time. He knows, he's professional about this. Where every other artist, the moment that record starts to spin on the radio and the buzz starts to grow and the ladies start to learn their name and scream their name, then it starts to be 10 minutes late, 15 minutes late, 30 minutes late. And at this phase of the game, and by phase of the game, I'm not saying you're a local artist. I'm saying that as you start to move up, you need to always keep that in mind. You need to embrace that concept and keep that as your commandments. I'll give another one. In terms of when it comes to just relationships, you want to, as far as another aspect, you, like I said, keep your word, do what you say you're going to do, be on time, and also form partnerships wherever you can. Forming partnerships doesn't mean going down to Calvert Street and filing a business license. It doesn't mean that you have to sign a contract, but form alliances with the individuals, whether producers, artists. You just made a great point about that, about being a connector. And if you look at the movements of St. Louis, for example, and Houston, Texas, these were all individuals who came together, recorded, and made a hit, and that led to attention coming to the region and multiple people getting signed. In anything that you do in life, there's always strength in numbers. If you're one person screaming from the mountaintop, someone may hear you, but if there's 25 people screaming the same message,
right,
you don't have to all be on the same record, but some examples are compilations. I remember in our region, when The Wire was at an all-time high, there was the Wire mixtape, and that led to a whole, one of my all-time favorite songs, Jail Flick, in the different poses, and one of my all-time favorites. But and there was a lot of people, Mully Man, shout out to Mully, and just a lot of different artists got a lot of shine from that project. So it can be compilations such as mixtapes, it could be a video series, it can be a hashtag movement where everyone is under that particular alliance, like let's say native tongues back in the day with De La Soul and Tribe and all, you know. You can do the same thing, and it's more powerful now with social media. Treat the people within your circle the right way. Be fair, but be firm. And the people you don't know, you have to be 1,000% professional when it comes to it. It will take you so far in your dealings with people. What goes up must come down, and when you come down, like I said, you can smack the pavement, or people can say, "We got you. Smooth landing. Let's rebuild from here."
See, and that's something that Ogun tried to do. Was it last year, a year before, with the pound sign? Let's push the button.
Yes, it did.
Like he, you know, and shout out to Ogun for always trying to keep things moving and trying to get the all eyes on us, because all eyes on Baltimore. It seems like we only really get looked at when something negative is happening.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I moved here in 2003. I've been coming here since 2000.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, my family members and all, you need to move out of Baltimore. I'm like, why? And like, oh my God, because on the news. And I was like, that happened, like, yeah, that's just one thing that happened. They put, well, all the murders. And I was like, yeah, well, look at Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Look at, you know, Detroit. Look at the bigger cities. And, you know, I come from a small town where there's like less than 400 people there when I was growing up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we had one stoplight, okay, one gas station. You know, a very rural area, just quiet. Things,
change of pace.
yeah, things happen there. Like they just raided a house that was a meth lab. And my cousin was like the biggest cocaine dealer around, and you know,
Chapo.
you know, so there was stuff that happens there, but because Baltimore has, like, how many people here? Over 600,000.
A lot.
You know, compared to 400. Come on. So I try to get my friends and family over there to understand that.
Of course.
But you know, the notoriety that we get is the wire. The notoriety that we get is the riot or the uprising. I don't call it a riot, I call it an uprising. The notoriety we get is the, you know, Freddie Gray's, you know, killing. And it was always the negative things. And there's so many positive things that go on. Just like there's so many positive things that go on in this music scene that a lot of people, they just don't focus on. And I'm like, well, if, you know, we need to unite. And I'm like, okay, well, we can try this, but we've been trying this for as long as I've been in the scene. We're not going to get everybody to unite, because a lot of people, they want to be the one. They want to be the one. It's not about, you know, like, okay, like you were saying about St. Louis. Nelly. He got signed.
Yeah.
What did he do? St. Louis 6. Come on. But he got signed first.
Chingy, Quan. A lot of
Ludacris, you know, all of them, like, and you know, I had this argument with my ex, because he's an artist, and we've had this argument since we've known each other. You try to support people in Baltimore and they don't appreciate it in Baltimore. I said, sweetie, that's everywhere. Well, I don't know. I don't know, because I've never been anywhere else. One, that's a problem for me.
Let's talk about that.
You know, that's a problem for me. I moved from the Eastern Shore of Maryland to Columbus, Ohio, back to the Eastern Shore to New Jersey, back to the Eastern Shore down to Virginia, Tennessee, and then back to Eastern Shore and then here. And I've seen so many different things. I mean, yeah, things are different in different places, but they're also the same.
Yes.
Just like with the music scene. What happens in this music scene happens in New York, and it happens in Atlanta, and it happens, you know, I hear that all the time. Well, at Atlanta, they support each other. No, Atlanta, the radio stations support the local artists as well. You know, they play the local artist music down there, so it gets familiar with the people who listen to the radio. Now that we have the internet, it's a lot easier to hear local artists who are not signed to, you know, maybe. So, but still, people go off of what's hot on that radio.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had this discussion about 92Q. I've had this discussion with Squirrel. And Squirrel even went above and beyond to try to help the local artists to get their music to that level.
Definitely.
You know, he even put out a video point by point,
Mm-hmm.
like a PowerPoint
Mm-hmm.
presentation. You got to do this, and you got to do this, and
Yeah.
you got to do this, in order for us to even try to submit your music to get played. They do need to have a segment where they do play. They play local artists. I believe they do, even if it's just for an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Just play straight local artists, and switch it up, just so you know people can get familiar. But yeah.
There's a couple points I want to make. Number one, with support. Now, this is not directed to your ex directly. Shout out to him, all respect. But it's when it comes to support, here's what has to be understood. Number one is that you have to develop the mentality that just because, and this is hard, this is a hard thing to do, you have to give for giving's sake. What does this mean? If I do something for you, I'm doing something for you because I have more to give. Like within me, I can give and not feel like something being taken from me.
Yeah.
Because I want someone to succeed. If I give with the expectation of that person has to return the favor to me when I need it and when I expect it, that's just going to burn you every single time.
Yes.
It's like a loaded gift, like a gag gift. That's the worst type of gift with expectation. It's like if I'm on a date, if I take you out to eat, this has to happen, and that's not the way. If it's as opposed to, I'm out to have a good time, so we're going to go and do this because this is what I like.
Mm-hmm.
It changes the whole perspective of things, and that's when you're giving to somebody, when you're doing a favor for somebody. If that person doesn't return it, you just charge it to the game, because in that universal bank,
Yep.
you know, that's credit that's going to come back to you. Let me tell you something, Lisa. Nobody you have never met, and anyone who has sat in this chair, I've done more free work, more do it for the love, the strength, the exposure. Nobody has done more free exposure work than me. So now, and I'm talking about years, I've built up brands that you may know, like, and boom. And today, I didn't go and, it's like, it's okay. You know,
Yeah.
we charge it to the game. I learned experiences from those. And now, when I don't ask for a lot of favors, I always look to see what can I do with my own finances, my own ideas, my own network. And if I need to call somebody in, it's like, nothing's 100%, but my rate of acceptance is already built in. Like, the person's going to come through for me. Why? Because when I meet somebody, I find a way to give value to them first.
Right.
So even if I was getting exploited in the early days. So now when I have new partnerships, I'm not thinking, what can that person do for me? I say, this is what I'm going to do for them. A, B, and C, D, E, and F. So that when it's time for me to ask for my one thing, I'm already, it's like, whoa, I got to come through for this.
Right.
From day one, he was on time, he was consistent, he looked at my situation and plugged in the hole. What could he do for me? So I have to come through him for that one thing, because he's already built the house. He may just need a window, and I do the window. So that's how that works. You got to add value to situations first, and that value will lead to, if nothing else, it strengthens your reputation for the bigger encounters that you need in business and partnerships. which your music, which your photography and all those things may be, and then we can talk about I got a point to make about the radio. So, listen guys and girls listening out there, men and women, people with side projects and hustles and brilliant ideas, bright minds, bright ideas. It's a numbers game these days. It does not matter where the numbers come from, but it is a numbers game. From a radio standpoint, I can sit down with you and show you how to create your own radio station and give you the formula to build your numbers up so that either A, a label, which is not necessary today,
Yeah.
or 2, sponsorships, which is what everybody should be going after, and 3, like corporate partnerships, so on and so forth. You can be the face of Gatorade or whatever the case may be, and those things are all possible. And so instead of the analogy of a dog barking at the moon, which is the moon's not going to pay attention because the dog's way down there, so you trying to get your music on the radio is it's a battle that, if it happens, great, and you want to have your music professional enough to get it on the radio, but your number one battle is out here with these numbers,
Right.
and building your numbers and building your audience so that because you can't call the radio station 500 times, they're going to recognize your voice. So when you build that community, they're going to say, why isn't my guy or my girl on the radio? They're going to call, they're going to call, they're going to call. They're going to comment on, let's say, 92Q's YouTube page and leave comments on their Instagram, on their Snapchat. So that's what you have to build up. And I highly encourage that you use these free tools out here, such as podcasting, such as YouTube, such as Instagram, to build up your numbers so that you get your partnerships, so that by the time radio comes around, you're already established and successful, and you can move on whether your single becomes the hottest single on the radio or not. Because it's about the numbers, it's about the attention. That's the game that we all need to be playing.
And that's a lot, like that, and that right there is like the most simplest thing to tell somebody. I mean, I've had I do pictures at the shows.
Mhm.
That's what my gift is.
Mm-hmm.
That's what my job is, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But since I got my Nikon and it does video,
Mm-hmm.
every once in a while I'll come across somebody and I will video like a song or or whatever. And Calico, I met her. She did one of my shows when I was doing In the Spotlight at 5 Seasons.
Mm-hmm.
See, In the Spotlight. My mixtape series was called In the Spotlight.
Mm-hmm.
My show was called In the Spotlight, and now my radio show is called In the Spotlight because I put everybody. I put everybody in the spotlight.
Yes.
So Calico did my show. I didn't know who she was.
Yeah.
It was one of the guys. He said, "My girlfriend wants to do your show."
Yeah.
I said, "Okay." He said, "Well, her homegirl wants to do it too." I was like, "Okay, new faces. I love it. That's what my whole thing was. I wanted to give people the opportunity to be on that stage."
Mm-hmm.
She gets on stage, Calico, and I'm like, where in the hell have you been?
Mm-hmm.
She was awesome. So we were at the Depot one night, and LeVar Hayes is one of his he has it's called Beats and Eats. He's a chef.
Okay.
So he would make some food and have a show and
Smart.
have his food out there to give
Get
people.
hungry at shows.
Yeah, well, not only that, also to promote his catering business.
Yeah. Brilliant.
So she's performing a song. I recorded. I put it up on my Facebook, my Bardo Paparazzi Facebook page. Next thing I know, I'm getting people from Texas commenting, sharing her video. To this day, I don't know. She's got more views on that video on my Facebook page than I think that she would have on YouTube.
Uh-huh.
And because she was like, Lisa, she said, I wanted to put that video on YouTube, but it's got more numbers on your page. So, and I don't know who these people are in Texas. It was just like somebody popped up and they seen it, and
Never know where it's gonna come from.
and that's my thing. Like, you know, people. I used to hear all the time about their SoundCloud. Well, I got such and such numbers on SoundCloud, and you know, and I'm like, okay, but as somebody who throws shows, I need to know how many people are going to be at this show.
Yeah.
Because I've come across a lot of artists who, yeah, their numbers on the internet look good. They could be watching their own videos. I don't know. You know, we had that problem a few years ago with people buying the views and forging the views or whatever, the numbers. So as somebody who throws shows, my thing was I need you to be able to bring people to the show, and I would make people sell tickets. Now, I'm on both sides of this fence when it comes to the artist saying, well, I shouldn't, I don't sell tickets. Okay, I understand that, but how many people are actually going to come to this show because your name is on the flyer? So I'm going to need you to sell these 15 tickets. But guess what? I'm going to split the money with you.
Yeah. All right.
50-50. Not 70-30, not 80-20, 50-50, right down the middle. So you keep $75, I keep $75, and guess what? There you go.
Negotiating.
You know, and I did really well. Like, I had a few artists that I couldn't sell the tickets, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, how much are you pushing yourself? And like I said, it all goes back to, for me, for artists, is promoting themselves. They have the internet. Back in 2006, we had MySpace. And that's how I met Bomb, was through MySpace. That's how I met Comp. The first time Comp sent me a message, I was like, oh my God, Comp to this day is the only person who's allowed to call me by my government name while he is on stage. He calls me by my first and last name. But I met Comp. I met DOG. I'm trying to get him on. He doesn't even do music anymore. Yeah, he doesn't even do music anymore. Because I talked to him the other day, and I was like, I need to get you on my show. He's like, Lisa, I don't do music anymore. I said, I need you to come on the show and talk about how things are so much, how things were when you had that hit Rider Girl. You was doing songs with Jim Jones. You was out in California. You was, you were in there, and how much of a difference it is now. Because I met him through MySpace. I met Money Man at 5 Seasons. Scar Akbar I met at the Black Hole Club. Like, because my knowledge of the local scene was what I heard on the radio. That's why I go back to the radio. Scar, Mully, Hooley, Comp, like those are the ones I heard on 92Q. And Paula Campbell. So those were the names I knew. I didn't know anything of like what I'm involved with now. It amazed me because like there's so much talent in this city, and now it's like everybody raps.
And the
everybody.
The cousin is a hype man.
It's like I every show that I walk into now is like, who is this and where did they come from?
Exactly.
And like, I think if people would invest the time in themselves to listen to the information that you are giving tonight and that you've given prior, because you do workshop. You're still doing the workshops, or?
I do the workshop. That's what I do. Yeah.
And I think that if they could follow your blueprint, I think that they would see greater success. Because I mean, the things that you like, just the things that we've talked about so far is like, it's not that hard to do, and it's just like you said, consistency. And I think some people think they don't want it as bad. It's like some people, it's like a hobby, so it's cool, and that's all well and good. But let me know that from Jump Street, so I'm not wasting my time trying to help you get your name out there even more. So, you know, because I have connections, like, I have a friend in DC, he's a promoter in DC, I have one up in New York, one in Rhode Island. Like, these are connections that I have made through, I don't even know how I met Tony Bello. He's another one who's just always been there. And him and I hooked up together, and we did a show at 5 Seasons called Clash of the Titans. He was bringing 6 artists from DC. I was supposed to be bringing 6 artists from Baltimore. And we had a show. That show was awesome. Even though some of the artists didn't make it, one artist didn't even tell me that he wasn't coming. Just what you said about he didn't even tell me, didn't even hit me up. The other one was keeping me updated because his ride bluffed him, and he lived out in Hartford County. So he kept hitting me, letting me know I'm trying to get there, Lisa. I'm trying to get there. And I finally told him, I said, you know what? I said, Jay, it's okay. I said, if you can't make it, that's fine. I'm just gonna put you on another show. But I really wanted him on this show because he was phenomenal at my other show that he was on. But we had a wonderful show. It was DC artists, because, you know, DC and Baltimore don't like each other, supposedly. But we had such a...
It's all rumors. It's a new day.
Yeah, so we had, you know, we were doing something that hadn't been done in a while. And that's always been my thing. Like, I'm trying to make connections. I want people... Hard Body Radio, my very first show. Hard Body Radio was there and did interviews.
Great.
You know, every time that somebody comes in here, I introduce them to the guys here at Hard Body and into the studio, which is Red Fox Entertainment. It's always a connection for me because you never know. You might have some information that could help Fox with, you know, something. You know, because Fox he's got the studio. But like I said, we're getting ready to branch out into doing the photography thing. You know, that's on me because that's something that I really want to do.
Yes.
And you know, I always try to get knowledge.
Yes.
Sometimes people listen, sometimes they don't. That's like tonight. That's like I told 3D. I said my friend Shadid's coming. I said, and he's giving knowledge. I said, this is going to be a totally different show. He's giving knowledge. I said, things that people need to hear. You know, so he was like, oh, okay. You know, they tell me my show's different anyway. I try to keep it educational, but fun. So, yeah. But, I was going to say, I lost my train of thought just that quick. There's good recording on back here. But, no, but I really think that from the time that I came in, like how everything was, to like they have it so much easier now to be able to do everything that you're giving them. You know, like I said, the consistency is that's common sense. You know, you would think it's common sense.
You would think, but if it was common sense, you would see more examples of success. I think that, so let's talk about this. Like, we were both there then, and then there's a now.
Yeah.
And some of the challenges that, because it was so easy, everybody would be successful. Everyone would be Damon Blue. That would be everyone's situation.
And I've gotten to watch him grow up. Like he was just a little kid that was part of Gritty. Well, he was a part of Gritty, but he wasn't part of Gritty. Something like he was just there. And then to watch him be the person that he is now is just like I love that. I love being able to watch these artists, watch them grow.
Yes, of course. So there's challenges. There's challenges, and one of the biggest challenges that when let's say back then, you had less outlets. Facebook wasn't an outlet for artists back then. MySpace was the only game in town. YouTube came around 2005, 2006, but it wasn't that serious yet as a platform for artists. There was internet radio shows. You had what Emotion was doing with Deep Flow. You also had Shaka Pitts.
That was 2007.
So like around that time window, there was less outlets, and more venues.
Yes.
So this also talks into the differences between, let's say, generations. And I'll give you a few examples. When we're having a conversation, there's eye contact, there's acknowledgement for the younger generation. And I'm not an angry old man, young generation. I'm making a point here. So when a lot of people who were raised with the cell phone or the smartphone as a way of life, they're having a conversation and they're looking down at their phone. There's no acknowledgement. Nowadays, social media has become such a real dynamic in our lives that it leads people to believe that it's a real thing.
Right.
There are people outside of, let's say, music and everything. There's people in this world that may have email conversations with somebody, never met him or her, and they're in a relationship. And how does that happen? So this is a different world, it's a different time. And the biggest thing, because this is going to tie into a point, with the virtual world, social media, websites, so on and so forth, versus in person, it seems like if I do enough here with the virtual world, I can skip the in-person dealings. Back then, that was impossible. It was impossible to be relevant in this market or any market as an up-and-coming artist without that face-to-face interaction. So the question is, if I'm consistent on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook Live, Periscope, Pinterest, you name it, Snapchat, do I need to do as much in person? The answer is absolutely yes. And the people who understand that are the ones who are succeeding in today's virtual world. So that's very important to understand. So where artists struggle is, again, they're so involved with the smartphone, they're so involved with the social media that when it comes to meeting in person, they're going to look down and not make eye contact, or they're going to look way over here, or they don't have those social skills or that charisma that, let's say, a Mully Man has when you meet him in person, or, you know, a lot of these different artists that you meet, and it's like they're so, from the older era, are so personable. And the artists today that may be younger on the come up, who understand the importance of the social world, and they understand when they meet in person that they have that moment to catch your attention, those are the people who are going to succeed in today's world.
And like, I'm sitting here when you were saying that, and I'm thinking back to, like, when I met some certain people, like when I first met, Mully Man. We were outside of Five Seasons one night, I forget what event it was, and I was like, "Hi, Mully, I'm Lisa." He was like, "Lisa, I know who you are."
Mm-hmm.
He was like, "You've introduced yourself to me every single time." I said, "Well, I mean, you are Mully Man, and you meet a lot of different people." And he was like, "But I know who you are." And I was like, "Wow!" Like, it was amazing to me that this person who has been in the scene and traveled and done shows everywhere, and I think this might have been before he moved down to Georgia. Maybe he was already living in Georgia. But like, I guess because I don't think that because I was kind of new to the scene, so I didn't think I gave that much of an impression.
Mm-hmm.
But like, the word of mouth had got around. Like, my pictures, like, people to this day,
mm-hmm.
they know the logo because they see it.
Yeah.
I've had artists come to me and say, I need a picture. I need your logo on a picture. I'm like, why? Because I'm not, because you're the Baltimore Paparazzi. I need a Baltimore Paparazzi picture.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had artists sit here and tell people, if you know, be on Facebook and say, if you don't have a picture about a Baltimore Paparazzi, you're nobody. I was like, will you please stop doing that? Because that's, you know, like, but it was just telling them, like, they're telling me that I'm an important entity in this scene.
Mm-hmm.
And I had artists come up to me one night. I didn't give him the business like I wanted to because I knew he had been drinking. But he was like, how come you ain't take no pictures of me? Don't you know who I am? I said, actually, no, I don't. I said, but do you know who I am? He was like, yeah, you're the Baltimore paparazzi. I said, see, and that's the problem. You know me, but I don't know you.
Yeah.
So you need to do more about that. And you know, his homeboy came up to me later on and was like, he's drunk, I apologize. I was like, no. I said, but that should have been a humbling experience for him. Because I really, to this day, even though with all the acknowledgments I've gotten, even with all the people that come up to me, and I used to lie. People are like, hey, I'd be like, hey, and they'd be like, you talk to me, and I would have no clue who they were. But now it's got to the point now, I'll be like, look, I'm sorry. Well, you took pictures of me. I was like, do you realize how many pictures and how many people I've taken pictures of over these years? I apologize. And then they'll tell me their name. I'm like, oh, okay. I know who you are now. And I guess it's like it goes back to that consistency. But I've met some artists, like you said, you're talking to them and it's, Are you even listening to me? Okay, I'm just going to catch you later.
Yeah.
I'm just going to catch you later. And like
they wouldn't even understand why, because
I mean, I've caught myself doing this in conversations too. I mean, it's nothing. It's just that I think as I've gotten older, I've got adult ADD, and my brain is just because my brain's constantly moving, going here and going there. Like I have to try to shut it up. Because like I said, I was talking and I lost my train of thought, and I was like, and my mind was going somewhere else. And I was like, well, you just like shut up. I'm trying to concentrate on this. But I've had some of the younger ones come up to me, and they've made it a point to be like, I know who you are. Like the one, his name is Drizzy Dre. He was the one that my neighbor was telling me about, like a week prior to me actually meeting him. And he called to me. He was like, he's like, I know who you are. Da, da, da. I was like, okay. He was like, I'm Drizzy Dre. I was like, wait, hold up. Drizzy. I know this name. Where do I know this name from? And later on, I went up to him. I said, I know where I know your name. I said, my neighbor was telling me about you just last week. He was like, really? And I was like, yes. He's like, oh my God, that is awesome. Because somebody was talking, somebody that wasn't in the music scene was talking about him. And I've had people that will come to me and tell me, you need to check out so-and-so. You need to check out so-and-so. Like you said, that talking about, an artist. Like if I hear somebody say like Drizzy Dre, so I hear that name one time. It's stuck in my head because it's kind of, different. And then when I seen him perform, actually, Apex had said something to me about him. He was like, I'm here. I said, what are you doing here? He was like, I'm performing a song, but I'm also performing with my homeboy, Drizzy Dre, and whoever the other guy was. I don't even know who that guy was. And I was like, see, now it's the second time I've heard this name. Consistency. It's word of mouth. It's all of that. So, as you're talking about all this, I'm relaying it. My mind's going, you know what? Yeah, because this happened and that happened, and that's how you remember this, and that's how you, I'm going to need artists to actually do some of this stuff now. Like, if you're not going to do all of it, at least start out doing something so you can continue. I think that, like you said, they have the social media, the advantage of social media. And when you were talking about, the Instagram, I remember when Twitter came online, and this gave celebrities and industry artists, you were able to actually interact with them, and they could interact with you. Instagram came along, it's the same thing. Like, you've got, they might not always interact with people, but every once in a while, they will respond back to you. And that gives you, like you said, I'm not going on Facebook Live. Interaction. You make a fan feel important when you interact with them.
Every time.
And that fan, like I said, when Comp responded back to me on MySpace, I remember that feeling. You would have thought that Tribe Called Quest responded back to me. You know, somebody, you know, but this was comp. This was signed. He was signed to Def Jam. He did a song with Jadakiss and Ghostface, and you know. So I'm all excited. And then like when I first met Scar Akbar, same feeling. I was like, oh my God, that's Scar Akbar. That's Scar Akbar. Now, that's my friend Scar Akbar. Holy Shalom, same thing.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, oh my God, that's Holy Shalom. He's on the radio. He's, you know, for my shorty, and yeah, you know. But that's my friend. Every time he sees me, he comes up to me, gives me a hug and a kiss on the cheek, and you know. So I went from being a fan to being fan, like almost like family to most of these people.
Consistency. It all ties into who you are and being who you say that you are, and delivering that again and again and again and again. And that's what it's all about. Many artists need to understand that. One thing, as far as your platform is concerned, is taking a step back and realizing that you, for many artists, you're having that logo on the bottom of their picture that's validation that they're going places. So gotta treat that as, you know, that's like being on this show, or it's important, because if you're one of the artists who don't have that attention, that's what you're fighting for. So when artists come up to you, that's the frame of mind that they have. Like, paparazzi, I need to get my name in that category where I'm being featured. Here's an idea for you. I should mute the mic. This over. So I'm sure of all the pictures you've taken, there's a whole lot of them you've forgotten, but there's probably 5 to 10 that are like your all-time, when you see it, it's like, that's like the best picture I've ever taken.
Oh my God, yes.
And so what you need on your website is like a Hall of Fame. If you want to get 5 to 10,000 additional views, with a little PayPal donate link at the bottom of that, because we're all about increasing our coins, ladies and gentlemen. And that's one suggestion that, and for those who are listening out there in YouTube land, who may be watching as well, then if you're a videographer or you've done a bunch of concert footage, your best shows as well. I used to be a videographer as well. I used to record footage for the show, and I have my interviews, so on and so forth, and my live performance that I look at is like, wow, I was there. I can't believe I was there for that. So that's one tip that you can utilize to build that buzz and put your own platform or your own outlet on a whole other level. So that's one for the paparazzi, but also for those of you out there who are snapping photos, who are hitting the record button on your cameras, who are interviewing. Start a top 10. You remember MySpace, those of you, that top 8 in MySpace,
oh, God.
how important that was?
Yes, because people would be upset about, you took me off your top.
Exactly. So every year have your top 8 best of whatever you do, and have a link. If it's pictures, just put the straight up picture. Maybe link to a blog post where you're describing that moment. Just type a few paragraphs of that moment and how it made you feel. And then here's how you tie it in and build that. Oh my goodness, the ideas are flowing. It must be the recording. So what we have is our top 8 from your website. Your top 8 favorite interviews, favorite photos, favorite concert footage. Link to each one of those. Just think of the top 8 on MySpace. Link to a page where you're talking about how that made you feel. Now, here's where it gets interesting. You go back to Facebook, and then you go live, and you talk about your top 8, and you just describe that moment. And because on Facebook Live you can go back and forth from you on camera to whatever you want to show. So you can show the picture and then you can talk about it and just describe it. Since it's something that is passionate to you, you're going to be animated. It's going to be good. And then your audience is going to be like, oh, I remember that moment. I was there, or I stepped outside and I missed it. And that's one way to build a huge audience around what you do as a behind-the-scenes person or a person who is part of the media. Free tip for you here on Hard Body Radio.
I may have to try that for the end of the year, because I was just sitting there thinking, because I haven't done as many shows this year as I've done in previous years, because I got a job. I actually, my kids had kids, so yeah, everything kind of fell on me. But I was just sitting there thinking, that'd be something to do. Like because when you said that about my favorite picture, I have one of my favorite pictures of one of my favorite artists who's no longer even an artist now. Mm-hmm. He retired, left whatever he did. I don't even think retired, but the last time I talked to him, which has been a while, I was like, you gonna record any more music? He was like, nah, I'm done with that. And that's Neil Norris from PX, Parts Unknown.
That's my buddy.
That's right there. I have a brilliant guy. Gerard is he's in a band called Group Stew, and they're doing wonderful things. They just performed at the Reginald F. Lewis Museum. I want to go to things, and I just can't. It's always something comes up, my truck needs to be fixed, and I got surgery on my shoulder.
It might be time for the paparazzi to expand the brand, and see, because this is a common thing that a lot of us who were around, let's say in the 2000s, are going through. This is my favorite time. I'm having the best conversations now. Neil Norris, for example. I know him in a whole different way. He's actually a brilliant person. He is brilliant, not smart. Brilliant.
The conversations that I have had with him over the years, and I told him, I said, you know what, sometimes I really hate talking to you. He was like, why? I said, because you make me feel stupid. I said, and not on purpose, it's just that your mind is so brilliant that, and I like to think myself that I'm pretty intelligent. And he's just talking to me, and I'm just in awe of his conversations. It's I miss being able to talk to him, because we would talk, just hold conversations, and it would be where does this come from? And when he told me about his the schools and this, that, and the third, I'm just and then the music that he was making, him and Gerard were the very first artists that I seen live. And that was January 2008, Turntable Club, Sonny Brown's benefit show. Okay. That was the first time I met Shaka Pitts face to face too.
Shaka Pitts.
And it took me about 2 months to find them on MySpace, because I didn't know who they were. But it took me about 2 or 3 months to find them. And Neil was the one who reached out to me, and him and I had started talking about different things, and we've become really, really good friends. And he is just one of those people that when he talks to me, I feel like I'm in kindergarten, because he's so brilliant.
Yeah, so it's a lot of people from that era, a lot of talented people are now grown-ups, responsible grown-ups who may still love music, may be active in some ways, but maybe haven't adjusted to the new ways. Other people are still going strong, but everybody's making that transition. So for people like me, people like you, who, let's say, who have other things going on, but still have that passion to get out there, what I found worked for me is just to step away from being the face and just focus on the platform. So you may have to get a couple interns, a couple paparazzis in training, you know, there's a bunch of college kids out here who, or people who are, you know, graduated from school and don't really have a direction and be working a job that they hate, doesn't pay well, and they just are trying to find themselves. So I have the belief when I talk to people who are creators and people who create platforms, I tell them that somewhere there's a person who's waking up and it would be their dream, it would be their honor to be able to plug into this idea that you kind of want to do or that you believe in and you don't know the next step. So you have to like open it up to where you bring people in to cover events now and you look at the overall quality and build other people up. That's what I'm starting to do now, and it gives me number one, the platforms that I built are still continuing on, and they still live on, but at the same time, I see myself in them like, wow, I remember when I had that type of enthusiasm when I would go to another state just to interview somebody, or I reserve a hotel room and do a whole media day and interview artists all weekend. And those are the things I used to do. And when the new generation is coming to me now and they have those ideas, I'm like, run with it. Because the more that people are, that is less about me and it's more about the platform, the brand, the more it succeeds and it's something that can be passed on or sold or to the next generation. And that's where we all, those who were around in the MySpace era, that's what everybody's trying to figure out now, and that's the solution. Open it up so that the next generation can win, so that, because you've invested a lot of time and a lot of pictures, and a lot of energy and effort, the logo means something to so many people. So creating that next generation, whether, because you mentioned on-camera stuff as well, so find like a VJ who can do interviews and interview artists. Find a couple photographers, teach them the ways, and you can focus more on photo shoots and running the platform and just quality control and just step back, kick up your feet and just boss it up, and things continue forward.
Yeah, because I had somebody the other day tell me that, you need to get an assistant, and I was like, but I'm the Baltimore paparazzi. I'm that and like my daughter, everybody's like, well, get your daughter. And I was like, my daughter doesn't have the patience. Like, she loves going, my children grew up in the scene. So they grew up listening to local artists. They grew up, my daughter's 16th birthday was a show that she picked the artist. And when I approached them about the show, I'm in there. It's for cash, I'm in there, because the genuine love that they had for me, it went to my children too.
Of course, has to.
And what's funny is the guys here at the studio, one of the guys, he's the engineer, Freeze, he's also an artist. He told me this story a couple weeks ago. He was like, you know what, Miss Lisa, he was like, people love you. He said, because you're genuine. He said, and I knew this the first time that I met you. He said, and I don't even remember this. We were at Vanity Room at a show, and 3D said, that's Miss Lisa. And I guess he was talking, he come over to me, hug me, whatever, and I guess he introduced me to everybody. Maybe I had been heading or something that night. I don't remember. Like, it just, everything runs together. But Freeze was like, you came up and you gave us hugs, like you knew us. And I was like, well, that's just me. Like, I'm a genuine person. And I've learned over the years that me, how I'm just a loving person. I can be mean, I can be hateful, I can be ruthless, all that, if I'm pushed to that. But I'm genuine. And that's like the pictures, like they say you need to charge for pictures. That's why I started putting my logo and watermark on the pictures, because people started taking my pictures and not even thanking me for them.
Of course.
And I was like, nah, this is not going to work. I'm doing this. I'm not charging. I go to shows. And at this time, I was still paying to get into shows. I mean, since then, like, majority of people, I don't have to pay to get into shows. Certain people, I'm not going to beg and ask. To me, that should be a given. Lisa, you coming to the show? Yeah, I'm gonna come. I want to come. All right, well, you're on the list at the door. You don't have to pay. You don't have to buy a ticket. You don't have to. That should be like the given. But that's cool. If it's not, like you were saying about doing things for for free, and you do that because to me, my blessings come to me regardless. And I used to be that kind of person. Well, I did this, I've done this, and this for this person. You would think that they would, return the favor. So that was my mindset at first. But then it got to the point to be like, you know what? Just because this person is not going to return that favor, there's somebody else who is returning that favor for that person without them even knowing it.
There's a point within this. Let me say this. Something I learned in life that really has nothing to do with music, but it has to do with people. And it's this. You cannot put your values in the way you handle situations onto other people.
Right.
If I handle things a certain way, or I feel I define trust, loyalty, respect, in certain scenarios how I would handle it, that is an unfair expectation to say, I expect this person who grew up differently, has different parents, upbringing, circumstances, and experiences that shaped and molded their definitions. It's unfair to expect them to act the same way. All you can do is understand why, and that's where true power comes from, is understanding that, okay, I don't trust this person. This was a line from a movie, but I trust them to be them in this situation. And once you understand, I don't believe there's necessarily good people and bad people. There's scenarios, and I always expect people to act in their best interest in those scenarios. When you think about life that way, then it frees you from expectation, or I expected them to do this, but they didn't. Of course, the people you love and are closer to, you can hold to a higher standard because you have more experiences of which define that loyalty, trust, honor, and those codes that you find to be important. But when it comes to people, when you give, just give. Like, just a basic example of a loan. When I give a loan, I don't give you a loan with the expectation that you're going to pay me back. I give what I can afford to lose.
Exactly.
And when I think about things that way, it's like, I don't care. Like, you can give a loan to a person and you see them on Facebook and they're at the casino, and you say, well, I gave them the money. It's none of my business what you do with the money.
Right.
I gave the money because I want you to do better. What you do with it or how you handle things, that's solely up to you. But I'm free once I give, I can move on to other things. If you come back, that's a bonus for me. If you don't, then I'm going to be fine. As far as the promoters and the guest list is concerned, I've covered hundreds and hundreds of events around this country. I totally understand the idea of I'm providing a service for you, and understanding that that particular service is going to help them, and just thinking about the guest list and should it be free. What I started to do is I just pay my own way. If there's a media pass or some things like that for the larger events, of course you need that to get in for award shows and stuff like that. But for a local event, I'll just pay my way. Why? Because once I started to understand that, okay, when I interview these artists, it's going to equal these numbers, and it started to turn that into value, dollar value, it's like, wait a minute. When I get into this event, I have the opportunity to get 1,500 views if I interview these particular people. This footage is going to live on forever and ever and ever. So when you look at it that way, and you understand your numbers and you understand the value, the $10 to $15 is an investment that you can write off if everything's set. But I totally get the when you're dealing with somebody who's a promoter and they're like, wait a minute, I want you to come in and do this for me, and, you know, and the whole guest list thing, that can feel like, well, I'm doing something for you, and the least you can do.
Yeah,
is,
because I've had artists come and say, Lisa, I got a show on such and such and such and such. Can you come? And I was like, you know,